Hello and welcome to Harper Podcast. I'm your host, Amrita Tripathi. I'm a writer, a reader, and someone who's very interested in the world of books. So on this journey, you'll be hearing from writers from the HarperCollins universe talking about their books, the big ideas, and even how ideas can change the world we live in.
Hi everyone, it's Amrita and I'm looking forward to bringing you this next episode of Harper Podcast with journalist and writer Mohar Basu, who has written an incredible book on the one and only SRK. Who doesn't love King Khan, right? So this book is as much fan tribute as a deeper look into the man, the legend, the movies, and what they have to say about Bollywood and even India more broadly. Do tune in and don't forget to tell us what you think right here. Hi, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Harper Podcast with me, Amrita Tripathi. I'm so excited today to be in conversation with Mohar Basu, a journalist and the author of this incredible book about this incredible legend. It literally says legend, icon, star, and Mohar could not have asked for a better read. I think for all of Shah Rukh's fans, this is going to be a pretty incredible and special one.
I am so glad you said that. We've worked so hard on this book and it's taken us so long and so much to come up with this. So thank you.
And I feel like, it really does feel like a labor of love. I'm going to ask you a little bit about what went on, behind the scenes, what gave you the idea. I also want to say it's beautifully produced, like amazing photographs and a very moving epilogue. The story behind the photographs, I'll ask you as well. But to kick this off, I want to ask you to expand on this a little bit. There's a quote towards the beginning of the book where you say, I've had the good fortune of being raised by SRK fans. Tell us a little bit about that and how your journey, did you identify as a fan even before you wrote the book? And what are your feelings about that?
Yes. Amit, I genuinely believe that I don't know anyone who's not a Shah Rukh fan in some form or the other. And by which I really mean the fact that Shah Rukh's been a part of our consciousness for as long as we've existed. See, I'm a 90s kid. I grew up in very, very small cities and towns of India. Like, my life goes back to places like Singrauli, Sambalpur, Ranchi, then Calcutta, then Delhi, then Bombay. But a lot of my life was spent in small town India, where movies was the only sort of connection that we had with the outer world. And for some reason, everyone I have known, my grandmother, my mother, even my father, we've all been very enchanted by Shah Rukh. And I think the core of that lies in the fact that Shah Rukh is a boy next door who became the superstar, the biggest global superstar, one of the biggest global superstars ever, in fact. So I think that hard work, that journey, the fact that all of us could be that, I think that's where the story and the fandom really starts. I think all of us aspire for that life. And I genuinely mean it when I say I don't know a single person who's not a Shah Rukh Khan fan. If you're not a fan of his work, you're a fan of him as a person. If you're not a fan of him as a person, you're a fan of his hard work. You're a fan of his, courage, his ability to stand his ground. It's just so much of him that we have grown up on. And I think, the fan in me starts from there.
I love that. And I think you're right, because I was thinking about this before this chat. I was like, I can't think of anyone who's not a fan. Like you said, either of the work or the human being or the hard work. And you talk so movingly also about, some of the ups and downs in his career, which I'd love to chat with you about. You talk about what those fans mean to him. So let's unpack that a little bit, because in now one of the chapters you're talking about how it feels for him to come out and see those fans at Mannat, and that there are crowds every day. So he's feeling a bit low. He comes out and he gets an instant connect, instant gratification as well. And that's something that's a sort of living relationship he has with his fans.
Yeah. I first had a realization of his moving affection for his fans, especially when he was promoting Fan, I think. And, the whole shoot of Fan, if you watch the movie, you'll realize that he's actually playing an alter ego of himself. It's almost like the character and him are the same people. Of course, the story is different. But that relationship between him and his fans is very special because like I've described very vividly in the book, I feel that every fan I meet has a very different aspect that they latch onto. Like women, for example. I can say for most women I know, we aspire for a partner like Shah Rukh Khan. It's a romantic aspiration. Some women want the sort of respect he gives. I just feel that the fans that he has have a very dynamic relationship with him, because for him, I say this at some point in the book also, that ye hamara banda hai. He's our guy. You can't mess with our guy. And I think the realization primarily hit when we were watching Pathan and Jawan. I think the way people came out and supported Shah Rukh, and Shah Rukh himself acknowledged it in his Indian of the Year speech. He said that, you came out and loved my movies, even when you didn't like them, probably, is because you love me. And I think he acknowledges that. He gets it. People literally came out to support Shah Rukh Khan because they were like, you can't mess with our man, dude. He's given us so much joy for such a long time, for so many decades and decades. You don't get to mess with him and get away with it. We will show up for him each and every time.
Yeah, that really does come across in your writing, in your book, and it does remind me of that phase because you do also document how he was going through a string of flops. There
Yeah.
was this whole orchestrated campaign against him, also on social. That was a
Yes.
big moment.
Yeah.
Is that one of the few? Because you've also, as a journalist, covered this sort of business of showbiz and all of the bigger, larger than life spectacles. Is that something that stands out for you? The way that kind of outpouring of support happened? Because I think you talk about it almost like a watershed moment.
Yes, actually, if we go back into 2020 as a year, I think it was a very difficult year for the film industry, because of everything that was happening, and there was a proper smear campaign that was going on about Bollywood. There was this whole thing being painted that Bollywood is a dirty place, and there's only drugs and sex going on, and it's quite ridiculous. As a film journalist, when I hear this, I'm like, dude, I've done this for 12, 13 years. I have been a young woman in this industry. As a 22-year-old, I've never seen this. What are you even talking about? I'm not saying probably all of it is not a lie, but a lot of it is not factually correct. A lot of it was just a freaking smear campaign that was happening at that point of time. And it was just so ridiculous. And, the smear campaign is something that really damaged Bollywood's spirit. It almost painted them in a light which is incorrect, improper, and immoral. And in a country like ours, cinema and morality somehow have like there's sort of a connection. People look at the films and their stars in a certain light. They're put up on a pedestal, and that really went. It really went downhill after 2020, because the industry was painted as a nepotistic industry, which again, like I would say, it is not entirely incorrect. But I feel that the negativity sort of cut out after, like, right when Pathan released, and all of it cut out because I think somewhere Shah Rukh's fans took a stand and said that no, what you're doing to the film industry, you can't do to Shah Rukh, because it's very sad that you're doing this to a guy who's literally self-made, the one of the only outsider who's probably the biggest insider there can be. You can't do this to him. If you really stand by the fact that this industry is bad and this and that, let's just support that one guy who's doing it right. So I feel that's what happened. The smear campaign, I still stand by the fact that it really, really damaged the industry. It damaged us. It really damaged our souls. I think the audience also stopped coming to the theaters after a point. And initially for the first couple of years, it was very strange. Anytime there would be a release, everyone would just start talking of the 2020 and Bollywood being a drug war or something like that. It was just really silly. It was so silly. And people forget movie making is not only just a very expensive business. There are a lot of people who work hard on a film set. And it's so many people's hard work, it's so many people's honest days work that's going into a movie. And that must be respected. That must be respected. You wouldn't go and do this to any other industry. But you do this to the film industry because you think you can get away with it, which is very sad. I think when I was chronicling that time also, so I remember writing a very long feature about the rest of Riya Chakrabarti, and people just went after her like they wanted to really target her, and people went after her saying that, oh, she's a woman who killed the man that she was in love with, without any proof, without anything that could be substantiated. She was arrested on a bogus charge, which is I think it's now been like she's been acquitted of them. It's it's so sad that a mob could do this to a woman who was grieving. And that's the sort of country we had become. And I think we needed that dose of Shah Rukh Khan at some point to come and probably just jolt some of these people back to senses that, hey, we are doing good job. Why are you going after us? What have we done?
Yeah, but, there's a lot to unpack there. Also, I feel like the media reporting on Sushant Singh Rajput's death also is very, very problematic. In terms of how we report on suicide and things like that. And I think some things that come out of your book also are about what time, right? What happened as we turned that corner? Of course, you've been as you said, a journalist covering this industry. There's so many jobs attached. Does it come across from your research that, Shah Rukh, for example, is one of those people who's well aware of the end-to-end broken ecosystem, right? Like a lot of these people and
Yeah.
stars.
Yeah, he's very aware of the ecosystem. And Amrita, come on, he made Jawan. He clearly knows what he was making. It's not a coincidence. When someone as smart and sharp as him goes ahead and puts his might behind a film, they know exactly what they set out to make, and they made exactly the movie they wanted to make. They wanted to put the people of the country front and center in a film. And for the first time, I wrote this in the book that Jawan is a very angry film, and when I went to watch Jawan, I went to watch an action film because I love Shah Rukh. I ended up liking the film for a very different reason. I ended up liking a film because it validated the common man's rage. After what, a decade in a movie, I think. I don't remember the last time I watched a film where a common man was angry and it was validated by the movie itself.
Yeah, and let me take one step back though. So when you're talking about Shah Rukh and in the book, and you talk about a lot of women, of course he has fans of all genders. Um, you talk about him being a green flag, right? So the I only recently learned. We all know about red flag. Talk us through a little bit about what you mean by that and what is a green flag and why do you think Shah Rukh epitomizes one?
Okay, I'll tell you the one of the first times I met him. I think it was at his birthday at his house in Mannat, okay? And I'm sure everyone will validate this story and everyone will have a similar story to tell because that's who Shah Rukh Khan is. The way he speaks to you, he almost makes you feel like you're the most important person that that could be there for in his life at that point of time. And I don't think everyone has the ability to do it because I think it's a very rare quality that he has. And I think when I say green flag, what are women seeking from people around? I will not even say relationships. What are women seeking from people around? They're seeking respect. Because we live in a world that's becoming increasingly unkind to women. And yeah, Shah Rukh does emerge as a green flag in that sense because he respects us. He speaks to us with a certain amount of tamiz and tehzeeb and just that hey, you are a person, you are more important, and I am going to respect you in this moment. I think that's what is the essential part of being a green flag starts from. And also the sort of movies that he's done. I just feel that none of these movies quite um showed women in a bad light or disrespected them in any way kind of dignifies a woman. And again, I would say this, I think actors often put the onus of their characters on the directors, saying that it's a director's medium and it is their decision at the end of the day how the character pans out. But when a superstar works in a film, he decides and he makes the choices and he has the power to make those choices. I think Shah Rukh has made very conscious choices to dignify the female characters in his films, which actually was there in Jawan also. I was so surprised that he's the jailer of a women's prison. And the way that whole story track turns out, it's so sweet. He says, ये जेल में आपके आदमी होंगे पर ये जेल मेरी औरतों का है. And it's just he clearly knows that there is a certain fan following and he respects that fan following. And I feel the green flag bit comes from this. He respects. He really
Yeah.
respects. I spoke to this very well-known cinema influencer. His name is Nandi Prakshit, and I know Nandi from the time he was an intern at the Telegraph in Calcutta, and I know him for like almost a decade and a half now. And he says this in the book also. It's there. He says that when I was 22-year-old rookie, Shah Rukh spoke to me with respect, and today when I'm a somebody, he still speaks to me with the same respect. And it's a very small question that he asks, "How are you doing?" Almost everyone forgets to ask that. How are you, beta? Are you okay? And it's these
Oh,
small things that really matter. That is what makes him different than anyone else who's at his level and his league.
At anyone listening to this or watching this is going to really get that, that the super fandom, the access you had. I'm very jealous that you met him for his birthday. I remember doing a phone interview with him many, many years ago, and I was telling someone recently, actually, it's really funny because what you said is how he makes you feel when he's talking to you. It was a phone interview, and he said something, 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 darling. And I still remember my studio director laughing and saying, "You're so lucky we're not on you right now because I went red." And he said, "You're supposedly a professional." I'm like, "Can I have that tape recording, please? I would like to keep it forever." But
I
let me
once
ask you a little.
I
Go on.
once remember, I think I was interviewing him for Jab Harry Met Sejal, and I just somehow cannot call him Shah or Shahrukh or SRK. It's just weird for me because I don't know. It's just weird for me. I can't. So I call him Mr. Khan. If I meet him or if I speak to him or interview him, I always refer to him as Mr. Khan. And he's like, "Don't call me Mr. Khan. You can just call me Shah." And I'm like, "I can't." He's like, "Mr. Khan बहुत शरीफ लगता है."
I can't imagine the first name Vegas. But I'm going to ask you to do a little bit of a reading from the book. But first, Morgan, have you heard a chance? Know what he thinks of the book? Get a chance. I know there are no interviews in this. Was that a
No,
conscious?
that's a conscious call because the whole idea of so we wanted to capture the impact of Shah Rukh Khan. That's the book. It's a fan book. And the way he's made people feel. So I feel that's not something a star can objectively say. That how he's made people feel is not something he will have a remark on. Like it's not something he will know. He only we can tell how he's making us feel. He must have heard it from a lot of people, but that would sound really pompous. And I don't think he's that guy. So he will obviously, you know, I find it very interesting that women have loved, not just women, actually, men, people from the queer community. Everyone has loved him so much. My mother, her mother, more mothers, all mothers also love him. So I just feel that he wouldn't have a very objective viewpoint of why people love him so much. That's something only we can do with our interviews that we've done with people.
Oh, just saying that. Is it something you'd want him to read, or do you think he'd get embarrassed?
I don't know. I hope he reads it. I sometimes just feel, someone was telling me this that, Shah Rukh should read the book because he needs to know what a special person he is. It's just a reminder that, we love you very much. Just keep being you. I just hope he
Yeah.
just knows that.
More, let's ask you for a small reading, and we go on to talk about some more.
As I typed out the last sentence, I stared at the word stardom. Memories from his 50th birthday celebrations outside Mannath flashed before my eyes. Scores of people chanting his name, shedding tears of joy. I have seen mass hysteria of disproportionate measures in the past decade, be it for Amitabh Bachchan or for Salman Khan, even Fawad Khan and Varun Dhawan. But something about Shah Rukh's fandom just strikes different. In that 1 year of lockdown, when the lane outside Mannath was empty, you could tell something was really wrong with the world. For everyone who comes to the city, Mannath is a symbol that dreams do come true. It is an affirmation of the fact that Mumbai is rightly called the city of dreams. People standing outside Mannath and Shah Rukh greeting them from the ramp are visuals as inevitable in Bandstand as the setting sun. This year on Eid, I was stranded without a rickshaw near Mannath and was witness to the mass hysteria all over again. Someone shouted, "Khan Sahab aa gaye hain," and people in pristine white clothes ran towards his house. The joy was evident on their faces. I don't see the crowds outside Mannath dwindling ever, at least not in my lifetime. This chapter can go on and on forever because every fan knows more fans and insists they are bigger fans than the ones I've already spoken to. Shah Rukh's words played in my ears. I think of all the good things that will remain. Now that's the thing about stardom. All good things do remain.
Building on that, there's so many anecdotes in this book. There's obviously a lot of research over the years and for the book itself. What's really stayed with you about Shah Rukh, let's say beyond the legend? What are some things you can tell us?
I think the person that he is, I think it takes a very special sort of a person to be Shah Rukh Khan and the star that he has become. It's not everyone's cup of tea. It's not something everyone can manage to do also. One of the stories that really stayed with me was the fact, I think it's in chapter 3, where he was shooting for Pardes and he has to come back to India because his wife had a miscarriage. And there was a lady at the Denver airport or the New York airport who was following him around. And she kept saying, "Oh, I want a picture with you. I want a picture with you. I want to speak to you. I want to speak to you." And she kept following him around. And he was just very hassled because he wanted to rush back home. And suddenly, when he's at the door and he says that, "Okay, let's just do this." And she says, "Thank you so much. I love you, Akshay Kumar." And, Shah Rukh Khan, anyone else. I can assure you, as someone who's worked with stars for long enough, I can assure you everyone else would be pissed off with that. But he's just such a sweetheart that he signed the autograph saying, "Love you, Akshay Kumar." That story stayed with me. And very strangely, Amrita, so my best friend Rudrani, I was telling her this story and she told me, she's like, I have a similar Shah Rukh Khan story. So I said, okay, tell me. So it turns out, her father was the CMO of Darjeeling when Shah Rukh was shooting for Main Hoon Na. And he had a little bit of an accident on set, or he was unwell on set. So the CMO was called in and he mentioned that, my daughters are big fans of yours, Shah Rukh. Could you call them? And he happily said, sure, sure, I'll call them. So this was the year, I think, 2000 or something. And her father called her up and said, Pinky, this is someone who wants to talk to you. So uh, she picks up the phone and she doesn't initially believe that it's Shah Rukh. And Shah Rukh says, no, it's really me. It's me, Shah Rukh. And she says, okay, do you know Hrithik Roshan? Will you please tell him I love him very much? And, anyone else would be pissed off. But he said, I promise you, once I go back to Bombay, I will inform Hrithik that Pinky said she loves you very much. He didn't need to be the sweet, Amrita. He could have just been a nasty person, but he was not.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
This is
very
just,
sweet, I thought.
it is
So
very
these
sweet. and-
stories are corroborated by other people who've had similar experiences. So this is not a one-off thing. It's a part of who he is.
I love it. And, it does give you hopes that it doesn't matter how big you get, you can still be like humble.
nice-
But I mean, contrast this with the kind of things he says in his interviews, including this. I say it with all humility, I'm the last of the stars. So you have
Right.
him bigger, the larger than life. He knows, right? There's another interview I remember many years ago, which stayed with me, which is I think someone was asking him if he goes somewhere where people don't know him. He's like, well, there are very few places in the world where they don't
That's
know
true.
who I am.
That
But
is
if
true.
find that place, I'm gonna make sure I go there and watch my movies. I feel like that just speaks to who he is, right? He has a sense of like obviously he is larger than life. But then what you're telling us is that he's very, very down to earth as well, as a on a one-to-one basis. It sounds like.
Yeah. In fact, when the book released, Chef Varun Namdar, he called me. I think he was with Mr. Khan and Aifa. And he said there was a lady who came in, but only she had a pass. And he was supposed to do meet and greet, and her husband was outside. And Shah Rukh obviously didn't know how to navigate this, but he carried her and then took her outside and then met her husband and then came back in. It's it's really sweet. And as far as the whole conversation about people not knowing him goes, I literally feel there are very few places in the world where people will not know him. Earlier this year, I was in Jordan and I was shopping in Petra, and there was someone who told me. So I was buying keychains and the normal stuff that you buy, and he's like, "You're from India." I said, "Yeah." You know Shah Rukh Khan? I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, I love Shah Rukh Khan." So if a Bedouin person in Jordan knows Shah Rukh Khan, I really feel there's like very little place. Like there's literally no country in the world where people will not know him.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that if, like I said, I believe that would be his motivation to make sure that even that
He will
um,
make sure. He will
yeah.
make sure, Amrita. He's such a marketing maverick. He will make sure people knows him in that country.
So you tell me a little bit about this dedication. It's a beautiful dedication you have in the book. It's to everyone who has stopped believing in good things. Here's a modern day fairy tale about love, hard work, hope. And as Om from Om Shanti Om said, happy endings. Tell us a little bit about what actually drove you to write the book, because it's a lot of work that's gone into it. You might want to share a little bit about that as well. But the dedication first.
Okay, so you remember the year 2020 and everyone was getting COVID and we were holed up at home and we had thought we were never going to get out of it. And then that year, I think as a film journalist, it was a very bad year for us because um, we saw the whole system around us change with one bad incident that happened. And that incident, when celebrities, when we have to do celebrity deaths and we have to cover obituaries, it's it really pains us also because for you guys, it's for anyone who's listening to this podcast, it is someone whose movies you love. It's someone whose work you have grown up on. For us, it's someone we've probably had chai with, had long conversations with. So it breaks us. And then you see that turn into a public mockery. Then that goes on national TV and becomes a little worse. So I felt that was a year I think all of us were breaking down in different forms and ways. There were there was I think I know a lot of newspapers that were shutting down. So as a print journalist, that was a fear I was really battling that year. The next year there was a very bad bout of the second wave of COVID, where we saw people really go to Twitter and ask for, can I get some oxygen? Can I get some cylinders? Can I get this? I remember I was trying to arrange cylinders for somebody, and before I could even do that, the person's mom just passed away. So there was that year. And then by the time 2023 arrived, I think we really needed to hold on to some sort of belief that it will be all right. Today we have, touched wood, by God's grace, passed that time. But when I first watched Pathan, I was still living in that fear, because I was like, what if something happens to me? What if something happens to my mother? And I had lost my father in 2019, just a year before COVID. So, once you lose one parent, you're always worried about the next one. You're always worried, what if something happens to the next one? So I think I was dealing with all of that and a lot of personal loss around me. And even the work bit was it was a very traumatic time for most entertainment journalists at that point of time. And I just feel that we needed to hold on to hope. And when I want hope, I actually go and watch old Hindi films, especially 90s films, because somehow watching Kuch Kuch Hota Hai gives me happiness. And very strangely, I don't think this quote made it to the book, but I remember interviewing this lady in Delhi. Her name is Ruhi, and she told me that when I see Bridgerton, and there's a sex scene between two characters, I get very cringed. I get very scared, and it makes me fearful, because she'd just come out of a bad relationship. But when she goes back and watches Dar or even Anjam, she feels okay, because Shah Rukh is a familiar character and she feels hope when she sees it. So I feel that we were all looking for a sort of um way to latch on to that belief that there could be a happy ending. It's gone really bad for all of us, but we'll get out of it fine, and we just need to believe that it'll be all right. And if it's not all right, it's not the end. So it was a good time to remind everyone of that. And I think
Yeah.
Shah Rukh's story is an enduring tale of that. That if it's not a happy ending, it's not the ending yet.
Yeah, that was a movie, right?
Om
I'm forgetting which.
Shanti. Om
Yes.
Shanti. Yes.
Which, by the way, I watched randomly in a tiny theater in New York when it came out. I remember I was with my sister, and there were like two other people there who were we had so much fun laughing because we were listening to their commentary as we walked out of the film. They were like, "What did we just see?" But it was amazing. I mean, what a
I love that movie. I love that movie. It's such a classic Bollywood movie, because it has the hero, villain, reincarnation, all the tropes, and all the everything I expect from Bollywood. It's so beautiful and pulpy.
Exactly. And you talk in the book also about how he is with his co-stars like Deepika Padukone with a Kajol. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? I thought that was fascinating. I'd never thought about that before. This thing about not outshining or not getting anyone to dim their shine. Can you take us through that?
I remember the time that he announced that, his heroine's names would go before him in a film. I thought it was very interesting because, Amrita, it's a very personal thing for me, but we cannot imagine being paid less for the amount of work we put in compared to our male co-stars, male colleagues, right? And imagine this is an industry that's normalized, okay to do this. So it's just so shocking that this happens to actresses every day. And this is also an industry of casting couch and sexual harassment. We can't deny all of that. Yeah, there was an entire Me Too movement that did catch on in the industry, and a lot of people were exposed through it, and not many were left out, in the sense that they were eventually rehabilitated. So it's very sad that this happens in an industry like that. So Shah Rukh Khan, in that sense, is the sort of colleague that you'd want to have. No one asks our male colleagues to let us take the lead. No, it's not that. Just give us respect, just make space for us. And no one, you don't have to compete in a way that you want to dim our shine. So I feel Shah Rukh really does that for his actresses. I've seen that in multiple movies, and I think the way the women speak about him is also, it's very refreshing. The way they speak about other actors, easily how they speak about Shah Rukh, it's very sweet. Like, it's almost like he's an ally to them. And I think we are all looking for allies in this world.
Yeah.
Women really need the male allies. We really do. I don't think feminism will go anywhere if we don't have our male allies. And they really make us, feel a little more hopeful and optimistic and comfortable.
Yeah, less alone. And the people who can challenge the system, right? At some level, when you look at the patriarchy, and as you're saying in the movie industry, no one bigger than him to actually signal that. I want to ask you a little bit about these incredible photos. Because again, very, very, very beautiful book, very well produced book. And I don't know if it's possible to love him anymore, but after talking to you, I'm like, yes, yes, King Khan. After reading this and talking to you, I think you're going to have thousands of, more intense fans. But take us through a little bit about the photos, because I think part of this tribute and why it's going to be a treat for so many fans is also the photos you have. Some of them behind the scenes, some from film set. Talk us through that.
So I think if you like the production, I think the credit goes solely and wholly and firstly to my editor Bushra Ahmed. I think she has such a visionary mind where she can make you work. I call her the Rohit Shetty. When the book's cover got released, I told her, I said, Rohit Shetty, your first trailer is caught on because the cover picture. I just found that picture so gorgeous. I think Shah Rukh looks gorgeous in this picture. He looks his age. We are not trying to age him down or make him look like someone else. And he just looks, it almost looks like he's looking into your eyes. It's such a great choice of picture. Most of the pictures were chosen by her.
Now fully distracted by that. Now that you said that, gaze it to the cover. Carry on, history.
Yeah, so that picture's her choice, and she got it designed internally, and I think she's done a fantastic job. My only job on the pictures was to, bring on the photographer. That was late Mr. Pradeep Bandekar. He's my friend Prathamesh's father. And of course, he's been a mentor-like figure to most of us who've been young journalists in this industry. And it's very sad, Amrita. We were in the middle of the project. We had just, I think, finalized the pictures, or we were in the process of finalizing pictures, and very suddenly he passed away of a heart attack. And the whole team was bummed because, of course, we are all Shah Rukh fans, but none greater than Pradeep Dada. Pradeep Dada loved Shah Rukh like Shah Rukh's his child. That's the love. I remember this afternoon. So I'd gone over to his house and he gave me all the pictures collection. So I had to, my job was to like kind of shortlist pictures and bring from there for the editor to kind of take a look. Bushra had to take a look at all of them. And he told me stories from film sets in the 90s. And the joy with which he spoke about Shah Rukh. I think the joy sort of translated in the pictures that he clicked. I love the pictures. I wish we could have taken all of them, but then it would be a picture book and not a fan book. But
the sequel could well be a picture, huge captions. It really does add to and I think complement the story you're telling, because it's from the entire like his era's tour, as it were, right? I mean, you can see through the look at this.
This is I love this picture. He looks so beautiful in this.
And you have this lovely thing with each chapter where you have taken quotes from the movies. I think we're probably going to wind down in a few minutes, but anything that really sticks for you, like your favorite quotes from any of his movies, and again, tribute to you and the way you put this together, because it just brings so much joy. Is there anyone that you would pick out, one or two quotes that stay with you?
This week I watched like last week now because today is a Monday. I watched Kal Ho Na Ho. So right now I'm just thinking of Haso Gao, Muskurao, Kya Pata Kal Ho Na Ho. But my favorite is the Om Shanti Om quote where he says, if it's not the ending, if it's not a happy ending, it's not the ending. I think that's my favorite Shah Rukh quote. I really live by it because, on bad days, we all need that one gush of elegy in you to tell you that, no, it's okay. Today was just one bad day to pass, because bad is not where things end. It ends on good. And I think everyone needs to keep reminding themselves of that. Like, work hard and the rest, leave it to the universe. It'll just come together.
I love that. And that's such a lovely, uplifting note on which to end this for the moment. Anyone who's watching or listening to this podcast with Mohar, please do check out this book. And, you can actually tag us on social, with the Harper podcast team. Which is your favorite Shah Rukh movie? What is your favorite dialogue? What resonates for you from the book? Many, many more fans, readers, and audiences to you, Mohar. Thank you so much for this. It's been a real delight.
Thank you so much, Amrita. It's been a delight chatting with you. It didn't feel like work at all. Well, it wasn't.
I hope that we get a chance to do this in person at some point. But, congratulations again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're listening to Harper Podcast, and we certainly hope you enjoyed listening. Stay tuned for more episodes. This podcast is available on Spotify and Hubhopper. You can also stay updated with HarperCollins' new books, subscribe to the Harper Broadcast newsletter, and find us on social.